Welcome to section 8.6, cars. Objective 1, compute the monthly payment and interest cost for a car loan. So a loan that you pay off with weekly or monthly payments or payments in some other time period is called an installment loan. The advantage of an installment loan is that the consumer gets to use a product immediately. The disadvantage is that the interest can add a substantial amount to the cost of a purchase. A fixed installment loan is paid off with a series of equal periodic payments. A car loan is an example of a fixed installment loan. PMT is the regular payment amount required to repay a loan of P dollars paid N times per year over T years at an annual interest rate R. And this is our formula for PMT, the regular payments that we would make on our fixed installment loan. Okay, so P is the amount that we took out for our loan, N is the times per year that we're paying the loan, R is the interest rate, and T is the time period for our installment loan. So let's do a guided example together. Suppose that you decide to borrow $25,000 for a new car. You can select one of the following loans, each requiring regular monthly payments. Installment loan A is a 5-year loan at 2%. Installment loan B is a 6-year loan at 3%. Find the monthly payments and the total interest for loan A. So we want to first find our monthly payments, which is going to be our PMT equation. So that would be P times R divided by N, all divided by 1 plus 1 minus R over N to the negative NT. Okay, so let's identify what our variables represent in this problem. So P is going to be the amount of the loan, which is $25,000. R is our interest rate for loan A, which is 2%, so that's 0.02. T is the time or the years of the loan, which is 5 years. And N is how many payments we're making per year, which is 12. So when we substitute this into our formula, we'll get 25,000 times 0.02 divided by 12. All of that divided by 1 plus 1 minus 0.02 divided by 12 minus, or to the exponent of negative 12 times 5. So we would then need to enter all of this. Okay, we're going to enter this into our calculator. So we'll take alpha variable to set up our fraction, 25,000 parentheses fraction divided by 12. Then we go to the denominator. I put a plus here. Oh, these two should be switched. This should be minus and this should be plus. So we'll fix that. So this will be minus parentheses 1 plus our fraction divided by 12. And we'll close that. Exponent minus 12 times 5. Enter. All right. So this is our monthly payment. So let's go back here. So that would be 438 rounded to the nearest dollar. So let's fix our formulas here. Accidentally switch those. So it should be minus, plus, minus, plus. There we go. All right, so we found the monthly payments. Now we need to find the total interest. Okay, so for total interest, we are going to be paying $438 for 12 months, or I guess I should say for each month for 5 years. So the total amount that we are going to spend for this loan is going to be 438 times 12 times 5. So that's going to be a total of 438 times 12 times 5, $26,280. Okay. Now we know that the loan itself is $25,000. So we can take that amount and subtract 25,000 and we'll get $1,280. And that's the total number of interest for loan A. So now let's do the same thing for loan B. Okay. So our formula for our monthly payments are P times R divided by N, 1 minus 1 plus R over N to the negative NT. P here is $25,000. R is 3% for loan B, so that's 0.03. T is 6 years, and N is 12 because we're paying monthly payments. So if we substitute this into our formula, we're going to get 25,000 times 0.3 divided by 12 all over 1 minus 1 plus 0.03 divided by 12 raised to the power negative 12 times 6. So now we'll enter that into our calculator. So alpha x, 25,000 times alpha x, 0.03 divided by 12. Go to the denominator, 1 minus 1 plus alpha x, 0.03 divided by 12 raised to the negative 12 times 6. All right, so our monthly payment here, rounded to the nearest dollar, is going to be $380. So our total interest is going to be the total amount that we paid on the loan minus the loan amount. So the total amount that we paid would be $380. We pay every month for 6 years minus 25,000. Okay. So 380 times 12 times 6 minus 25,000. So that's 2,360. Okay. So that's the total interest that we paid on the loans. Now we want to compare the monthly payments and total interest for the two loans. So we had a $25,000 loan that we're taking out. We had two options. We had a 5-year loan at 2%, and we had a 6-year loan at 3%. Our monthly payments came out to be $438 for the 5-year loan and $380 for the 6-year loan. The total interest came out to be $1,280 for the 5-year loan and $2,360 for the 6-year loan. Okay. So, in comparing both of these, the monthly payments are lower with the longer term loan, but there is more interest with the longer term loan. So, the monthly payments are lower with the 6-year loan, but the interest is higher. So you can either have lower monthly payments, higher interest, or pay a higher monthly payment but less interest. Objective 3, understand the types of leasing contracts. So leasing is the practice of paying a specified amount of money over a specified time for the use of a product. Leasing is essentially a long-term rental agreement. Leasing a car instead of buying one has become increasingly popular over the past several years, and there are 2 types of leasing contracts. The first one is a closed-end lease. For this, each month you make a fixed payment based on estimated usage. So when the lease ends, you return the car and then pay for mileage in excess of your estimate. 2 is an open-end lease. In this case, each month you make a fixed payment based on the car's residual value. So residual value is the estimated resale value of the car at the end of the lease and is determined by the dealer. When the lease ends, you return the car and make a payment based on its appraised value at that time compared to its residual value. If the appraised value is less than the residual value stated in the lease, you pay all or a portion of the difference. If the appraised value is greater than or equal to the residual value, then you owe nothing and you may receive a refund. Okay. Those are the 2 different types of leasing. Objective 4, understand the pros and cons of leasing versus buying a car. So leasing a car offers both advantages and disadvantages over buying one. Some advantages of leasing are that leases require only a small down payment or no down payment at all. The lease payments for a new car are lower than loan payments for the same car. And most people can lease a more expensive car than they would be able to buy. And when the lease ends, you return the car to the dealer and you do not have to be concerned about selling the car for repayment. Some disadvantages of leasing, though, is that when the lease ends, you do not own the car because it goes back to the dealer. Most lease agreements have mileage limits, usually between 12,000 and 15,000 miles per year is the most common. If you exceed the number of miles allowed, then there could be considerable charges. When mileage penalties and other costs at the end of the leasing period are taken into consideration, the total cost of leasing is almost always more expensive than financing a car. So while leasing the car, you are responsible for keeping it in perfect condition, and you are liable for any damage to the car. So leasing does not cover maintenance, so there are penalties for ending the lease early. Now let's understand the difference or the different types of car insurance. So when you purchase insurance, you buy protection against loss associated with unexpected events. And different types of coverage are associated with auto insurance, but the one required by nearly every state is liability. And there are two components of liability coverage: bodily injury liability, which covers the cost of lawsuits if someone is injured or killed in an accident in which you are at fault, and property damage liability, which covers the damage to other cars and property from negligent operation of your vehicle. So if you have a car loan or lease a car, you'll also need collision and comprehensive coverage. So collision coverage pays for damage or loss of your car if you're in an accident, and comprehensive coverage protects your car from perils such as fire, theft, falling objects, acts of nature, and collision with an animal. So these are all the different types of coverages that would be contained within your insurance. So there is a big difference in auto insurance rates, so be sure to shop around. Insurance can be very expensive for younger drivers with limited driving experience. A poor driving record dramatically increases your insurance rates because you are more liable to these different scenarios happening. And other factors that impact your insurance premium include where you live, the number of miles you drive each year, and of course, the value of your car. Okay, more expensive cars tend to have higher insurance premiums. So now let's compare monthly payments on new and used cars. So used cars are a good option for many people because your best bet or your best buy is typically a 2 to 3 year old car because the annual depreciation in price is greatest over the first few years. Furthermore, many sources of financing for used cars will loan money only on newer models that are less than 5 years old. Reputable car dealerships offer a good selection of used cars with extended warranties and, of course, other perks. The two commonly used sources for pricing information for used cars are the National Automobile Dealers Association Official Used Car Guide and the Kelley Blue Book Used Car Guide. So in this guided example here, we are told that suppose you're thinking about buying a car and have narrowed down your choices to two options. You have a new car, and the new cars cost $29,000 and can be financed with a 5-year loan at 3.2%. And for used cars, you have a 2-year-old model of the same car that costs $22,500 and can be financed with a 4-year loan at 2.9%. We want to know now, what is the difference in monthly payments between financing the new car and financing the used car? Okay. So we need to find the monthly payment of the new car and the used car and then find the difference between those two payments. Okay. So let's first do the new car. All right. For the new car, we know P is going to be 29,000. We know R is 3.2%, which is 0.032. We know N is 12 because you make a payment every single month. And we know the loan is for 5 years. So our PMT is P times R over N divided by 1 minus 1 plus R over N raised to the minus or negative NT. So substituting in our values, we'll have 29,000 times 0.032 divided by 12. All of that divided by 1 minus 1 plus 0.032 divided by 12 raised to the negative 12 times 5. Okay, so let's grab our calculator. And we are now going to enter in this information. So 29,000 times 0.032 divided by 12. Go to the denominator, 1 minus 1 plus 0.032 divided by 12 raised to the negative 12 times 5. Okay, so rounded to the nearest dollar, our monthly payment is going to be $533. Okay, so now let's do our used car. Okay, so for our used car, we know it is going to be it's a 2-year-old model of the same car. It costs $22,500, so that's our P, and it's financed for 4 years, so that's T, at a rate of 2.9%. Okay, so that's the key information that we're going to use here. So P is 22,500. R is 2.9%, which is 0.029. N is 12 because we pay it every month. And T is 4. So plugging this into our formula, we'll get 22,500 times 0.029 divided by 12. Then 1 minus 1 plus 0.029 divided by 12 raised to the negative 12 times 4. Okay, so then we're going to grab our calculator. Fraction 22,500 times 0.029 divided by 12. Go to the denominator, 1 minus 1 plus 0.029 divided by 12 raised to the negative 12 times 4. All right, so our monthly payment here is $497. All right, so the last part now is to find the difference. So for our new car, the cost was $533. For our used car is $497. When we subtract those two values, we'll get $36. So the difference between getting a new car and a used car is $36. Objective 7, solve problems related to owning and operating a car. So buying a car is a huge expense. To make matters worse, the car continues costing money after you purchase it. And these costs include operating expenses such as fuel, maintenance, tires, tolls, parking, and cleaning. The costs also include ownership expenses such as insurance, license fees, registration fees, taxes, interest on loans. So, a large portion of a car's operating expenses involves the cost of gasoline. We can determine the annual fuel expense of a car by taking the annual miles driven divided by the miles per gallon and multiply it by the price per gallon. So in these next few examples, we're going to implement that. So suppose that you drive 36,000 miles per year and gas averages $3.50 per gallon. A asks us, what will you save in annual fuel expenses by owning a hybrid car averaging 40 miles per gallon rather than an SUV averaging 15 miles per gallon? So we want to find the annual fuel expense for both types of cars. Okay. For the first one, we're going to look at the hybrid. So we'll take the annual miles driven, which is 36,000, divided by the miles per gallon, which our problem says is 40 miles per gallon, times the average cost per gallon, which is $3.50, and we'll multiply that together. And then for the SUV, similarly, we'll take 36,000 divided by the 15 miles per gallon, which is the miles per gallon that an SUV averages, times the cost per gallon, which is $3.50. So now let's grab our calculator and find these costs. So we'll have 36,000 divided by 40 times 3.50. We get 3,150 for the hybrid. Then for the SUV, divided by 15 times 3.50, we get 8,400. Okay, so the hybrid was 3,150, SUV 8,400. So now we want to know how much we're going to save. So in other words, we want to know the difference between the two. So 8,400 minus 3,150 will equal 5,230. No, 50. Doing math in my head. And you can check that in the calculator as well. $5,250 is the difference between the hybrid and the SUV in terms of the cost of annual fuel. So B says if we deposit our monthly fuel savings at the end of the month into an annuity that pays 7.25% compounded monthly, how much will you have saved at the end of 7 years? Okay, so our annuity is 7.25% compounded monthly, and we want to know how much we would have saved at the end of 7 years. Okay. So first thing is we need to identify our monthly savings. Okay. Well, we know that we would have saved $5,250 by using a hybrid over an SUV. And that's the annual. So per month, we would need to divide by 12, and we would get 437.5, which is roughly $438. So that's our monthly savings. Okay. So that's what we're going to be putting into our annuity account each month. Okay. So our P is going to be 438. Our R is 7.25%, which is 0.0725. Our T is 7 years, and our N is 12. So the formula for the value of an annuity is P times 1 plus R over N raised to the power N times T minus 1 divided by R over N. So if we substitute in our values for each variable, we would get the following. So that's 12 times 7 minus 1 divided by 725 divided by 12. Oh boy. All right, so we now want to know how much we would have saved. Okay, at the end of 7 years. So let's enter that into our calculator. All right, so let's move this over. Okay, so alpha x, 438. I need 2 parentheses, 1 plus, need another fraction, 0.725. Denominator is 12 raised to the exponent, 12 times 7. And then I need to subtract 1 and then close the parentheses. Go to the denominator, make a fraction, 0.0725 divided by 12. All right, so rounded to the nearest dollar, we would have saved $47,746. $47,746 at the end of 7 years. All right, that concludes section 8.6.